celebrate the small wins because it serves as fuel to keep motivating whoever it is, you, your spouse, your family, your parents. It serves as fuel for inspiration. So celebrate the small wins when they happen as you see the tide in your rhythm journey turning into something that's a little more consistent, has a little bit more flow. Celebrate those wins, right? Be vocal, more vocal even than when you're complaining about the schedule not working. Hey friends, Dr. Mrs. Mom over here. Thank you for watching this video. If you are new here, please don't forget to like, subscribe, all the things as we do here on YouTube. Today's video is going to be a continuation from the previous one where we talked about creating balance and rhythm for our lives. And this one in particular, though, is something that I found in my own experience to be one of the determiners of success when it comes to creating rhythm. And that's involving a partner, involving family, involving another party outside of you while you create this rhythm. So I'll start off with saying this. My husband and I are very different in that I process super quickly and he takes his time, reflects, thinks about the pros and then the cons, and then what day of the week is it? Is it a Tuesday? Like, okay, maybe let's think about it. How does it impact a Wednesday or a Thursday? And definitely Sunday the next week, right? So there are pros and there are cons to the different ways that God created us, wherein his strength is a weakness of mine and my strength is a weakness of his. And so it's a perfect complementary situation when we don't let ourselves, our egos, our personalities get in the way, right? Okay, so I want to share with you initially a lot of the failures that came with not being clear when communicating, or just not even involving your partner in the changes that you are making for your own life. But because you're doing things together, it's imperative that as the flow and the rhythms are changing for you, the other person is not out of the loop. Like they're right there with you, because it's more than likely that the changes in your rhythm would also to an extent impact the changes in their rhythm. So, obviously we got married, we're all doing our own thing. And by all doing our own thing, I'm like, there's no, we have personal projects and stuff that we want to do. We started a podcast, like time is a little bit more fluid-ish, even though with my personality, I'm very routine. So I do the same thing in the morning when I wake up. I do the same thing, when I'm getting ready for work. Like, I think we all have this, like when you're showering. Actually, write in the comments, when you take a shower, do you start from the top down or do you go down up? Let me know. I always find it interesting to see what different people do. Anyway, so I'm very routine. My husband is a lot more spontaneous, a lot more flexible. I actually read a thread on Threads where they're talking about like being married to a last born and just how spontaneous they are. I'm a last born as well. Well, I'm a middle child, but living wise, I'm the last born, if you will. Anyways, long and short of the story. Things were more fluid, but then as we started to, we got pregnant and roles started to kind of change a little bit. I believe I talked about this here before. Started to change a little bit. Rhythms started to get interrupted. So now it's like, whereas I was super sure and certain about my routine and the way I did things, I got into a space in motherhood where I was like, what am I doing? And how is this going to work? Like, I don't know. Right. And that's, I think, where it became so apparent that, listen, y'all need to be involved in each other's changes. I've also talked to you guys about some of the stuff that kind of was happening behind the scenes, at the end of our pregnancy, into our baby being born. And so there were so many changes that it felt like we were operating as a team, but not optimally. So a good example I had given you guys was going to church, right? When I got off of maternity leave, to go back to start leading worship. And I would wake up early because, again, compared to my husband, I'm an early bird. If he goes to bed late, he's not waking up early. That's just not how things work. So in my head, I'm like, okay, you don't have to wake up to pump. So like, why aren't you going to bed on time enough to wake up? So essentially, I did my first experiment. Remember, I said this in the last video where I'm like, if I wake up at 5:30, I can get dressed and we'll still go to church on time. Well, the thing is, when I was making that plan, when I was performing that experiment, I performed that experiment without including an important factor, an important variable, my husband. Okay, so I was doing this experiment solo when, hello, ma'am, like, what are you doing and why? All right. So it failed quite quickly. It was obvious that this is not going to work if I'm going to be the only person who is going to, be waking up early. And so we tried different iterations of this where like, I'd be like, okay, if you go to bed on time, then you wake up to shower because it's more difficult for you. I can shower quickly. We'll switch that way. It didn't work because he also wasn't going to bed on time. And even if he would try to go to bed on time, it was just much more difficult. So we're still going to church later than I would like, or even if we would make it on time, I would be so like disheveled and I'm not thinking clearly. And I am the kind of person who I enjoy being efficient at what I'm doing. Like at the root of it, I don't like to waste time, right? My time, anybody else's time, which is why I'll show up to places earlier than I need to and stuff like that. But, I would show up so disheveled and I'm like, now I have to like get into clear my head and just like be physically present and all of these things. But it wasn't until I roped him into, or I communicated the frustrations that I was having, and I communicated, hey, I've tried to do X, Y, and Z, granted without you knowing what was happening, but I've tried to do X, Y, and Z to be able to accomplish this goal. And it's still not working. These are the issues. And this is how I think we can try to make it work. What do you think? Do you have any ideas? It wasn't until that clear line of communication was opened that the experiments could actually like make sense, right? Because doing anything else, creating rhythms, especially when you are doing life with someone in form of a marriage, or maybe it's your siblings, or maybe it's your parents, doing life with people who are like an integral part of that life, it does not make sense to start to create rhythms outside of them. You have to communicate. An open line of communication has to be established. They have to know, hey, these are the hindrances. These are the limitations. These are like my frustrations, or these are also the things that I'm really enjoying right now. These are the things I would like to highlight and prioritize. You have to communicate the why. The second thing is, and this is where I failed a lot, I can tell you that for free, is not asking for input, because your mind has already like thought of all the possible permutations of what could happen, what could go wrong, what couldn't go wrong, what is right, what isn't right. And then in your limited capacity as an individual, right? Because you only know what you know, you come up with an idea and you're like, this is what we're going to do, right? Well, here's the thing. If you're inviting someone into your rhythm, into creating rhythm together, then you have to invite input from whoever this person is. And that wasn't something that I was taking into account. I was shouldering, or felt like I had to shoulder, the responsibility of coming up with solutions in this particular regard, because I was the one who was leading. Like, he wasn't serving in that capacity. The days he had to serve, he works in a completely different, department. So different team. He's cool. Like, he doesn't have to be as rushed as I, would. And then the expectations are different, so Essentially, I had to invite him into the process of creating this rhythm. I had to ask him, what do you need? What works for you? What helps you? What doesn't help you? What is a hindrance? What is something that actually is motivating to help you do X, Y, Z, or the other, right? So I had to invite input when this rhythm was being created. The other thing with inviting input is that you have a limitation as a person. I've said this before, especially in the case of my husband and I, because he takes time to really digest information. He has the likelihood that he's going to come up with a completely different scenario than me, super high, right? It just also helped for somebody else to be thinking about the same problem that I've been thinking on this whole time, but will come with fresh perspective, fresh ideas, and a possible solution, right? The next thing I would say is to test and adjust together, right? So I think there's a sense of ownership that inviting someone into this space creates, where it's like they know the end goal. The end goal it's not just for you, it's for everyone, right? This is a collective responsibility. And so as you run your experiments, see how does this work? If we wake up at this time, is it going to work? If you go to bed at this time, is it going to work? If you do this, is it going to work? You keep testing and adjusting and testing and adjusting till you find a place that it sits relatively comfortably for both of you. And it might not be exactly comfortable, but it's something that's like, okay, for now, I'm comfortable. I'm at peace with where we are in this scenario or in this situation. So test and adjust together. I think I've shared this with you guys on this channel before, where it's a statement that I've gotten from my husband is, what does success look like? I think something that is so important to do is when you get to that place of success, celebrate the small wins. Celebrate, the day that we got to church on time and everybody was good. We weren't rushing. We weren't like disheveled. We got there. All was good. Celebrate the small wins because it serves as fuel to keep motivating whoever it is, you, your spouse, your family, your parents. It serves as fuel for inspiration. So celebrate the small wins when they happen as you see the tide in your rhythm journey turning into something that's a little more consistent, has a little bit more flow. Celebrate those wins, right? Be vocal, more vocal even than when you're complaining about the schedule not working. And as with the last episode, again, I'll say this. Remember, give yourself grace. This process is not you do X, Y, and Z, and this is going to be the result immediately. It's going to take a lot of trials. It's going to take a lot of attempts. Stick with it, because at the end of the day, the rhythms that you are creating for yourself, for your home, creates a stability and a structure that is dependable. You can depend on the fact that, okay, we know that this is what we're doing now. This is what we're doing now. And it just creates a level of peace, I find, in my home, where the systems are in place, the structures have been set, and it just feels like we're now riding the tide. Again, things are going to change in an instant. That's just how life is. But because you've been armed with the tools to be able to figure out how to navigate the changes, I hope that you will be able to do that, not just for yourself, but with your friends and your family as well. Until the next video, I hope this has been informative and this has been helpful. Write in the comments and let me know, what are some routines or some rhythms that you've attempted that were successful, and what were some routines that you tried that just flopped? I have stories for days, but I'll keep that for another day. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.